You are listening to the CADDle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentac Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The CADDle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the CADDle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentac Consultants. I am your charming and handsome host, Jim, and with me is my partner.
Who on earth said that you're handsome and charming?
Listen, the mirror tells me this every single day, man. Listen, we've said it before. Man. You and I both have faces that are built for radio. That's why we do a podcast and not a video blog. So, all right. So, hey, congratulations, folks. We have a guest on the podcast today, right? We have a guest in here to help dummies like Rocco and I fully kind of understand the world of digital twins, which is what we're talking about today, digital twins and how they integrate with BIM data. So we have Ken D'Amato, who is the CEO and co-founder of SmarTwin, is here to school us both up on the topic. So, Ken, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Jim. Really appreciate you guys having me on the show here. Thanks so much for having me. And you guys are both handsome and smart, so I'm sure we're gonna have a good talk here. So.
Oh man, we'll send you the check afterwards, Ken. Thank you, appreciate that. Cost me half my salary to get him to say that, folks. All right, so before we get too far into today's topic, let's just get a little bit of background on both Ken and on his company. So, Ken, so you have that cool CEO title, which I keep asking Rocco for, and he tells me no, I'm just chief bottle washer. But how did you get there? How did you get to that position, and what exactly is it that you guys are doing over at SmarTwin?
Oh yeah, sure, thanks. I've been involved in BIM for a very long time. I got involved in BIM, kind of when it first started to rumble around through New York City, and I got very involved in the kind of the meetup groups and the various kind of bleeding edge people who were out there. And it was a real great opportunity to meet some great people and really talk about some of the effects that BIM could have. Building information modeling, taking a model from a design and then having it work its way through the different processes and different workflows of a construction of a building. And so by kind of having that early, entrepreneurial interest, it took me down the track to create my own company where we started to provide those BIM services. Having experience with Autodesk, having worked with Autodesk products, having sold Autodesk products, having spoken with many of the leading design companies and architecture firms, engineering firms, and construction firms, really put me in a position where I could really kind of dig deep and understand what their issues were, what they were trying to accomplish, and then work on some great projects. We worked on the Nordstrom 57th Street project. We did all of the BIM coordination for that. That included scanning work. That included some other technologies that we used on that, and it was pretty exciting. Then, of course, the pandemic hit, which was a real pause in any kind of work going on. So we took the time to kind of reevaluate, take a look at where we're at, what we were trying. How sometimes you get so busy that there's things you want to do, but you can't quite get to them. And we saw that as a great.
I call that every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the par for the course, right? So
absolutely.
we really felt this was a good opportunity. Since everybody was working from their home office, we thought we could take a good look at what we were really trying to strive for and where the industry was going. We saw digital twin with BIM services based upon the BIM model, and based upon that building information modeling, just for any listeners out there. So we really felt like digital twin was the future of where the industry was headed, because there's so much opportunity to not only, do comparisons of actual work done to the actual model, and also before that, coordinate and all the things that you do with BIM. Using digital twin is going to really help to kind of supercharge that model.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we want to get into today. So let's get into it. Let's get into the kind of the meat and potatoes, right, of digital twinning and BIM. So look, folks, digital twins are the hot new item that we all keep hearing about, right? They're on the cover of every trade magazine, the front page of every, CAD and BIM website. And I've even seen just a ridiculous amount of news on all these really wealthy venture capitalists, right, funding all the new digital twin systems and the digital twin companies. And it's a great setup, right? And the basic concept sounds very simple, right? It's basically creating a virtual model, that attempts to duplicate the real world conditions of your site or your building. But honestly, I know, and I imagine that's why we have Ken here, that there's quite a bit more to it than that. So Ken, why don't you fill this in, right? What exactly is, the digital twin, and is it just the replica that I described, or is it a more important asset for the design build world?
Yeah, well, it's a good initial description that you gave. So, the digital twin is really a kind of a working model that attaches to what happens on a daily basis. So, we try to focus a little bit more on construction because that's where our bailiwick is. We are, very interested in facility management and providing a as-built for the facility management. But what happens is that digital twin becomes the working replica where you can do simulations, where you can do things where you've connected cameras from the work site to the digital twin, where you've connected laser scanning. These different IoT, so to speak, these different outlying, information sources can really help supercharge the model into a digital twin that actually can be helping you operate on a daily basis. That as-built will then move into the facility management version of the digital twin, where you've got all of your air handlers, all of your electrical systems, everything on that digital twin. And it allows somebody to actually walk around that digital twin as a model and start to see the various components of the building, make adjustments, do various things, and again, you can do simulations. So it's truly, your building or whatever it may be, because digital twins cover so many things, but your building in a digital twin space that allows you to operate it as if you were there in a physical world.
Okay, good explanation. I like that. All right, so I think in a lot of ways, the digital twin, it's just a logical outgrowth of our standard 3D design that we deal with in the architecture and engineering space. And I think that when these firms have invested so much time, so much effort and money into developing these models, right, for high-end design and construction coordination, it seems natural to me, anyway, that they're going to be looking for more ways to use that data, right, to kind of recoup some of the investment, right, and even turn it into a profit center for themselves. So
yes.
What's kind of the history behind this then? What's the history behind developing the digital twin, right? Where does it really come from, and who's driving it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so its history goes way back to NASA and the Apollo missions, where they actually created a twin version of the modules that went up in space. And the famous, of course, Apollo 13 movie, where the guys are on the ground actually working the twin version, so to speak. And that grew into the digital twin as a version for manufacturing. And a lot of the good things that come into the architecture and the construction industry do come from manufacturing. It's where BIM really had its birth in terms of parametric modeling. and parametric processes where you were replicating your manufacturing process or product, on a computer, and had that virtual version of your product in CAD. Then, you started to do parametric modeling where, if you changed a screw, all of the screws would change. And that was because the computing horsepower in the 80s and so on wasn't quite up to what we need for buildings. So now we've got this, evolution happening where, again, we're going back and looking at what manufacturing is doing, and they are digital twinning not only their products and what they're creating, they're digital twinning for faster prototyping and things like that. They're actually digital twinning their manufacturing floor, and all of that coming together can relate to buildings and how to operate a building in a better space as a facility management, and then even if you take a step back to when it's being constructed. And so, it's really, truly, like you said, leveraging all of these, design attributes that we add to the model from its very inception with the architect. Because you can take a digital twin of a design model and you can move that out into, as a digital twin, move it out into the metaverse and actually start to get revenue from that model in a particular metaverse, platform. Developers can start to see their buildings before they're even built generating rent or revenue or retail, and that's what I'm excited about digital twins, because now you're helping developers start to realize money. It's not just build it and they will come. It's really build it early and they will come, and that gets their design into people's hands so that they can visit in a metaverse platform and actually start to interact with the space and start to, with retail, they can start to purchase things in terms of an NFT, or even purchase things in terms of your standard, shipping of a real product. Especially with fashion and that kind of retail, where people are looking to, get everyday items that they would buy normally on Amazon. They can start to purchase it there. And these constructs are being built out by many companies, but, I would say Epic with the Unreal Engine is really way ahead.
Yeah.
And they're doing a great job. And I'm in conversations and learning about how they're creating metaverse versions of digital twins. That's one fork of the road. But the other fork of the road is taking that digital twin from the architectural design and engineering and so on, and then moving it into the construction industry, moving it into the construction process, and giving constructors the ability to do that same kind of simulation that a retail store owner would appreciate in the metaverse. They now do it with the digital twin in their construction space. So, you can, it's not that you're just going to check for piping and walls and air ducts that are running into each other and kind of playing like a little bit of a rearranging game of the jigsaw puzzle. What you're really doing is you are actually able to take that digital twin and run it through simulations and actually train people before they even get on site as to what they're going to do this week, the next week, and the next week. And they can actually run through versions of what they're going to be doing and seeing, and really see the model come to life as a digital twin. Then they go into connecting all of the monitoring cameras, 360 cameras, LiDAR, for laser scanning, and all of that can then make sure that everything is in the right place, the right time, and also this totally reduces rework, and which is a big cost in construction.
Yeah, that's part of the biggest cost in construction is the amount we spend on redoing things.
Exactly. And then you're going to have a really good as-built because you're going to be able to push that out at the end of the construction to the facility management. And you're going to be able to say, this is the true as-built. And we know it because we've been scanning, once a week, and we've got 360 cameras running every single day. And, you're not going to be surprised when you walk down the hall and see something that you saw in the 2D plans on the drawing when we handed you paper back in the old days.
Yeah.
Now it's real, and you can see it, and you can tour it, and you can control it. And that's
and you
what
can see it happening in real time too, which is really nice.
And you can check your energy usage by running a simulation as to, maybe lighting and different energy resources turned on and off at different times of the day, and see how you can improve your energy usage, which is all good for the planet.
Nice. So, Rocco, we're talking tech stuff. I know we put you to sleep over there. We'll wake you up. So in terms of our clients here at Zentac, right, who do you see has the most interest in the digital twin concept, right? Is it the designers, the GCs, the developers, the owners? Who's expressing interest?
It's not something that I honestly talk about with folks too often. I mean, it's like the cool and upcoming thing, and that's why we've got Ken here, to talk about it. But if at all it comes up at present, it's at the designer level. But it clearly applies across the board, right?
Yeah. And that's why, like I said, that's why we had the conversation, right? We're trying to make people aware of what's out there and what's going on, because, I think whenever we see a new system like this coming in, right? There's always a split in opinions on its importance, right? There are always half of us who are, like Ken, who immediately see it as, oh, it's a brilliant game changer for our industry. And then there's the other half of people who are going to ignore it and call it, it's just a technology fantasy. It's a waste of time. It's unnecessary. I mean, we saw that with CAD when it came out, and we saw it with 3D modeling, and we saw it with BIM. Right?
I know. Why don't these people? Why don't they understand that it's been proven time and time and over and over?
The new tech helps. It always helps. It's a great thing.
Yeah, but I totally have sympathy and true empathy for people who are in the middle of a project and they're inundated, and to be able to lift your head up and kind of look up and say, okay, I want to do something that's a game changer that's going to help me. It is a difficult thing to do because. There's a lot of pressure, and I have total respect for the construction industry and everyone in the workflow process of AEC. But those that do lift up their head and look and say there's got to be a better way, those are the ones who adopted all of the technologies that you just described. And so these people are, the leaders and the game changers, and they really do benefit because, they've increased their margins. They've, really pared down their workforce to a very productive workforce, and they've, some roads, have led a lot of people down. I remember document management because I worked.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years in document management, Rocco. I did a lot of work in that back in the day.
Oh my God, there were so many companies out there, and there was, so many, they used to ask for the escrow of the software. You got to put the software code into escrow. So if you go out of business, we can get it.
Yeah.
That's what customers used to ask for because there were so many companies that came and went, and there were so many, I guess you would say, they weren't, interoperable, right? And so I think that's something that, I think we've evolved a little bit more. There's a lot more interoperability, and there's a lot, the API has really allowed us to connect different softwares together. So, no one's an island anymore with their technology. It's a lot more interconnection, which is great for the customer.
Yeah, it is a vital tool, right? You need to have that, open file formats and, public domain, readability things. It's vital. We can't work in modern society without that. So.
Yeah. And the fear of getting stuck with the technology that it is going to disappear or is a wrong road to go down is a lot less today. And I think there's a lot more people that have grown up with technology that have a lot less fear of it, and those people are making decisions now these days.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I guess kind of, the outgrowth of what you're just saying, right? And it's kind of a variant on the question I was just asking Rocco, but, you know, obviously you're doing a lot of work in digital twins, right? So, why is it such an important part of the design build process for you guys? And where are the real benefits in that design build space? Where are the real benefits of a digital twin, and who in particular is most likely to get those benefits?
Well, you know, the digital twin, is in its infancy, so to speak. I think what's most important about the digital twin, it creates a moonshot in the project, because if you do everything based upon getting it into a digital twin, you're going to have very good data supporting your models and supporting your process. And the ancillary technology, which is what we specialize in as well, the ancillary technology that's really available right now and is something that in 48 hours you can have on your site, your construction site, or in 48 hours you can start using in your design process, or in 48 hours you can have these tools that are helping your facility management. Those ancillary technologies, based upon the fact that they work with digital twins, can really start to affect your process like immediately. But what happens is, and that's where we come in, is to shepherd people and consult. I hate to use the word consult because it scares people.
It does. It always frightens them. I talk about it all the time. They hear consult. Yeah. They see dollar signs.
You get it. Yeah. Everybody kind of sits up in their seat with a stiff back.
Yeah.
Say the word consult. But really help people get the overall picture and really help people lead them to the goal of the digital twin when you're using these other technologies. And some of these other technologies, for because we specialize in construction, are things like LiDAR verification of a construction site, 360 camera verification of a construction site, and the comparison technologies that allow you to get reports overnight, and the next day you can look and see what's right and what's wrong. And also augmented reality. I'm working with a great company, XYZ Reality, that gets their model on site with a helmet and an AR visor of their own design, not a HoloLens retrofit. A model would be on site within 3 to 5 millimeters. So you can walk up to a bolt on a structure and you can see that it's lined up perfectly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is truly amazing. It takes a little bit of doing because you want to make sure your survey is correct. But what does that do? That makes sure that you've got a good survey of your site. And so when you're shooting for the higher level, just like anything in human endeavor, when you're shooting for that higher level of self or project or final build delivery, when you're shooting for that higher level, everything else is going to be up to a higher level.
That makes sense. So I think a big part of any discussion we have on new technology, it's not just about what can it do for me today, but what's it going to do for me tomorrow, right? I mean, it's always nice. We all like to get a new tool to play with, but they have to have long-term benefits and the possibility for continued growth and business development. And back in the day, CAD was first looked at as a short-term tool, right? A little cool new thing just for drafters, right? But it actually had that capacity, right, to develop into the civil, mechanical, architectural industry. Just it's a tightened system that we all use on a daily basis. It controls the design world now. So what started out as this cute new little tool has become the primary workflow for the design build world. So kind of with that in mind, Ken, what do you see as the future potential for digital twins, right? Where do you see this market developing and growing as we move into the future?
Well, this is great. You just teed me up for the perfect thing. First of all, just to kind of adjust, what is the purpose of technology, right? The purpose of technology is really to democratize and to allow people of all stripes and all intelligences and all education to communicate in a better way, right? That's why language was invented, excuse me. So, what we have here is, when you take CAD and, you're using it as a drafter, well, that's a very well-educated person in that. Now, if you give that to a facility management person, they're really not going to understand a CAD drawing in 2D. Nowadays, of course, they are, because they've had to educate themselves to that. So, but in the beginning, that new technology was kind of just, it was very siloed into that particular design process. Same thing with building information modeling. It's very siloed into the design process with architects in the beginning and engineers in the beginning. But then, construction saw that they could do a simple thing like look at a model and see where there were clashes, especially with the aid of technology like Navisworks and other technologies that look for clashes. Now you've got a technology that is helping communicate to other people who, aren't really doing interesting, designs in Rhino or anything, and they don't know anything about Rhino, or they don't know anything about other design software. But that BIM model is, through technology, communicating better with somebody in construction who's looking at how do we avoid clashes and mistakes before we build. And so that was a big boon for the construction industry. And those construction companies that took on that became premium construction companies with a great reputation, and developers wanted to work with them. Now, the potential for digital twin is to be like that for the developers all the way through the life cycle of their building, which is the 20 years or more after it's built. And that's where digital twin can connect the facility management people, the developer that wants to do renovations, the developer that wants to understand their building and run it in a very efficient manner with better energy consumption. They can look at a digital twin 3D and just, understand their building inside and out. And because it's all connected to their existing systems, they don't have to have a view that's siloed. They don't have to say, okay, we have to get this other technology to look at our heating system. We have to have another technology to look at our electrical system. It's all within the digital twin, and it's all connected, and it's like you open the doors to the virtual building and you start to turn on the lights and start to run the building in a virtual way, which allows you to really understand your building inside and out, which helps people who are owners of buildings who don't know engineering run their building better with their teams of experts for facility management.
No, that's great. And I think you covered that really well. And it democratizes everything, right? Not everybody, like you said, can understand, construction plans and riser diagrams and flow diagrams. No, people look at it and go, oh, it's just a whole lot of gobbledygook. But we all know how to see and visualize and work as humans in 3D rooms and spaces. So anybody who doesn't know they can just go, okay, open the digital model and kind of, push my mouse forward or push my VR glove forward and, oh, look at this, I'm inside the building. And, and it has a big impact. Like you said, you can take a guy who is an expert carpenter and let him walk in and look at the framing that you have designed. He's going to look at you and say, no, you see that corner? You're missing a 2x4. I know how I have to build that. This is what I do. And he's just looking at it just like, And it completely democratizes it and brings everything to a rational, everyday person capability. I think it's an amazing concept that can have a lot of impact on the world. All right. So let's take a quick break. All right, we're going to take a quick break to listen to today's sponsor. And then when we get back, I want to talk to Ken about the process of actually developing digital twins, right? And how that works in conjunction with the BIM data. So stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more of the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody. Today's podcast is being brought to you by BricsCAD. BricsCAD, the AutoCAD alternative that will give you all of the tools that you need in the AutoCAD design world. but in a simpler, more affordable package. In particular, today's session is being brought to you by BricsCAD BIM, the 3D modeling system that is the BricsCAD version of Revit. It actually allows you to go in and do all of your 3D modeling, all of your BIM intelligence in your standard DWG file. So you can do your 2D layout and drafting using all the same tools that you have and easily convert those over to full 3D models, and then add in and automatically using artificial intelligence convert all of that data into fully developed BIM models to the level of development that you need. BricsCAD BIM, probably the greatest advent into the BIM world in the last decade. So Rocco, tell the kind folks how they can reach out to us and how they can get more information about BricsCAD BIM.
Sure, you can reach out to us at zentecconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. Or you can give us a ring, 866-824-4459. And how about I'll give you an email address too. It's sales@zentecconsultants.net.
All right, lots of ways to reach out to us about BricsCAD BIM. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the CADDle Call podcast. We're talking with Ken D'Amato of SmarTwin today. And in this half of the show, I want to get into the details, I guess, of working with digital twins and integrating, building information modeling into those twins. So now, finally, right, in modern days, we're finally all catching up to the curve where, BIM information tagged to our 3D model, objects inside our designs, whether it's, architectural, mechanical, civil, it's becoming more of the status quo in the design world instead of that, cutting edge thing, right? So, and since we're talking about 3D models with the digital twin, I think anyway that the basic concepts of BIM should easily carry over. I think there is more potential there, though.
Sure.
Most of the BIM data, right, Ken, that we see out, or at least I see on the daily basis, is construction focused, right? It tends to kind of end at the 300 to 350 level of development, right, where we're making sure that, real world locations and info on the built standards, like is it a fire rated door, which, things like that are met. That's that, 350 LOD. And that's perfect for getting things built. But yeah. I think it's limited in what we're talking about, extending that usefulness of the digital twin beyond basic construction. So what do you think, Ken, is the overlap, I guess, between BIM and digital twins in the construction, the built, and, that facility management, O&M type of space?
Yeah, so the overlap is, certainly there. But again, as we were saying in the last session, we are looking to, really push to that moonshot, to the best possible scenario. You want to get as close to 500 as possible. It's that simple. You're going to have to suck it up, and you're going to have to learn about every single, before you hand that over to the building owner, as a construction management company or the GC, whoever is involved in that handover, you're going to want to make sure that everything is up to date so that they get a facility management model that will be very functional as a digital twin. You're going to want to know what doors are fire rated. You're going to want to know various specifications on equipment. You're going to want to have the associated, any manuals that, training resources for that equipment. You want to have that all in there, without a doubt. And that's where the, our function comes in, where we bridge that gap. Because, construction companies shouldn't be tasked with that completely, but they have to work with us to really get that as-built updated, as much as possible. We'll work on getting all that information in, but that is what truly has to happen. So, you can kind of see this as a bit of a heavy lift, no doubt. And, we are working with one of our authorized partners, that's given us that designation as well, is Ecodomus. And Ecodomus is kind of like the OG of of digital twin. They've been around forever. And they really know their legacy equipment and how to get that plugged into the digital twin and all of that process of taking existing buildings and making a digital twin. In fact, they did the Javits Center in New York City.
Oh, so a small job, nothing big.
Yeah, but you should see that model. It's beautiful because you can walk that whole model and you can walk up to an electrical panel, click on it, and know everything about that electrical panel. And you can make some changes and adjustments and different things like that because it's all plugged in to the the connective tissue, so to speak, of what's going on in the building. So but you can see in the industry what's happening is Ecodomus was just purchased by Siemens. So yeah, Ecodomus has done buildings all over the country. Now it's going to explode even more. Siemens, of course, with that horsepower. And that's why this relates to what we're talking about is Siemens has got the horsepower to get everything in that building connected, right? And that's why we're really excited about working in partnership with them because we'll help in the construction and we'll help in the goal setting for the digital twin and what it should look like. And then we'll have the horsepower of a Siemens to connect with all of the different equipment within that building for a true facility management model. So it's a very exciting future when you're talking about specialty consultants that know the process and are communicating very well with the teams that are building the building to the horsepower that's needed to finally get that final facility management digital twin created. And I think that's kind of a best world scenario where it's not just big companies, they do their thing, and the consultants or the smaller companies, specialty companies do their thing, and they fight with each other. This is more of a coming together, which we hope will make for a better world.
I like it.
I just did my world peace.
Yeah, nice. We're gonna have to get some John Lennon music to play as a background here. We'll be all set.
Yeah, a little imagine in the background.
Say, man, you're a musician. You can do that for us, right? You can throw a little "Imagineers No Heaven" behind us, and it'll work. So
maybe on guitar. Right?
There you go. So look, I mean, I think your point is really well made, though. I mean, I think one of the things here is I think comes down to profitability, right? So look, the big thing with any new tech is you got to convince people, I think, of two basic things. First, that it will make them money. And second, that it's not going to cost them money. All right. So, look, say what you want. It is always about the money.
Sure.
Anyone who's looking to adopt the digital twin concept, right, is going to want to know, how difficult are the twins to set up in terms of time and cost. All right. And they're going to want to know who's paying those costs, right? And, in particular, they want to know who they're going to bill for their man hours, right? Like you said, on those construction companies and that lift.
Sure.
We spent the hours developing the twin, and are those potential clients that we're doing it for, are they going to see enough value in the twin that you're building that they're going to pay for it? And that I think is the key to all of this, right? Finding a way to convince people of where the real value of it is. So what do you see, Ken? What's the true value of the digital twin and that BIM combination to the market, and where or to who does it provide the most monetary benefit?
Yes, for sure. It's really always about the ROI, right? It's about money put in and the output. What are we saving? How much improvement is it giving us in terms of productivity? I think the real beneficiaries are always anything that is physical, that costs a lot of money, can be done digitally first to make the mistakes, to do all the things that you don't want to do on site. So it really does benefit construction. It's just, it's interesting, right? So we talked about how manufacturing helped BIM become what it is for the building industry, but construction benefited a lot from BIM because it's a physical act that costs money, if you can avoid the mistakes, now you're saving money. So it's going to have the most impact on construction and facility management, right? In terms of architecture and engineering, or architecture and property development and engineering as well, but in terms of architecture and property development, I believe it's going to have kind of that's where the genesis is. That's where you have to start to build the digital twin. And if you're not creating digital twins in that process, then you're not going to be seen as a facilitator of the benefits in construction and in facility management. So it's like you're not on the team. So if you're not on the team, then you're not going to do business.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing, like Rocco said, he's hearing it mostly from architects and designers who really want to get in on it. They want to get in on digital twin because they see that if they're not talking about digital twin or creating an environment that facilitates digital twin, they're not going to be they're not going to be on the team, because the developer, the construction company, and whoever's going to facility manage that building, who's now facility managing other building in that portfolio, is going to be looking at digital twinning and is going to be wanting a new building to be digital twin, because it's a lot easier to do a new building than an older building, right? And we're seeing the GSA and the government putting a lot of effort into digital twinning, even their old buildings, because they do see the savings. And so that's a leading trend in the industry. So you definitely are going to see it in covering the whole process, but it's going to really help with construction, and that is where the plugging in of on-site monitoring, and I talk about just not, it can be monitoring of workers and so on and things like that, but, it's more about on-site monitoring of progress and comparison to what should be built and what is being built wrong. That's where, you really see the benefit immediately, which can be rework costs are reduced. I mean, some of the technologies that are part of digital twinning or digital twin can reduce, you can have a 9 times ROI. Maybe it's 4 or 5, but up to 9 times ROI, which is amazing, because if you put in, 300,000 or you put in 30,000, you're going to see close to 10 times, say.
Yeah.
Even if you get 5 times, you're making money.
Yeah,
so
it's an amazing jump. And I think you're right. I think, particularly on the design side, right? It is important to realize that it's, because I've had the conversation with architects and engineers who are like, how does that benefit me? That benefits everybody downstream, but it's a value add to your client. Yeah. And if you're not providing that value add, like you were saying, you're just not going to be part of this project or future projects.
Exactly.
It's the way that it has to go, right? Everybody's got to be, particularly if you are getting involved, which more and more of our clients are in the IPD, right? Those integrated project delivery instead of the old design bid build process. When you're into an IPD project, if you're not bringing that best practice with the digital twins to the table, you'll never work with that client again. And exactly. I think there's also a part of it that long term, and maybe, Ken, this is you, all right, who is it, but there also has to be, and I see it as a real good potential money making market for someone, and I don't know who in the chain takes this on, but someone is going to have to be responsible for hosting and updating and breathing real life entries into that system, and I see that as a long-term contract and integration with your client. If it's the architect or the designer or the GC, you're already kind of in bed with your client, where they're like, look, man, you built the model, you've maintained the model, you've helped me as we put in small new systems here and there with the model. Now I have to put on a 40-story addition. Guess who's getting the work? I think it benefits everybody across the board.
Yeah, I agree. And there should be, and this, maybe someday I would hope to grow into be able to providing that kind of infrastructure, because that's a lot of data center space.
Yeah, no, it's big. And that's what I say. And it's the thing, right? Joe, the real estate developer, he's not going to do that. You know what I mean? And somebody at somewhere has to do that. You know, maybe you and I will, me and Rocco will partner up. We'll make it happen. It'll be our new business model. So,
exactly.
all right.
Hacks in somewhere in
Yeah. Cool.
Or Arizona, at a data center. But the truth of it is exactly there's going to be a company. I hope to be somewhere in that mix, but there's going to be a company that's going to be like a place to host. They'll host your building in your model, maintain it, make changes when you want changes made, making it a little bit easier for people.
So Rocco, I know, that we have a number of, CAD and BIM systems that we work with that tie in and are partners with tools like Twin Motions and some of the other packages out there to create twins and renderings from the design models. Which of those packages that we work with kind of works with the twin concept best, and what kind of interest level are you seeing in those?
It's interesting because there's some very, very small firms that we work with that are totally into this kind of stuff. And then obviously there's larger firms, and there's a big divide in between. But in terms of the technology, I think it always comes down to the big boys, right? I mean, it's it's Autodesk and Revit and it's Brixis and BricsCAD. And those are the core guys that we work with. But it's interesting who's into it and who's not. And like I said, there's a lot of education that's got to go on in between here to get people to that level to see the value.
Okay, fair enough. So, Ken, when you're kind of taking that model, right, and you're coming from, the construction 3D BIM model, obviously those models, right, there's initially a lot of focus on, the information, the BIM data for individual assets in the twin, right? You're going to bring over, specifics about doors and windows and columns and things like that. But what areas or features can kind of be developed beyond that basic BIM information, for the benefit of the project and for building owners and so on?
So just so I understand, you mean in terms of features drawn out of the data?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the BIM data that's in the 3D design model where we're kind of at today, that's going to have stuff that's, it's going to give you BIM information about very specific components for building and construction. Right. Are there things in terms of, like you're saying before, like analysis and area effects and, scheduling and support information? What other areas can be added to the digital twin that go beyond just that basic BIM data?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you're talking like static data and kind of dynamic data.
Yeah.
The dynamic data is where it's at, no doubt. The static data and kind of like what the facility managers want to know, like, what model screws do I have in my doors or something like that. That can be added kind of at the end, in the facility management model. You want to keep that. You want to keep your model agile, right? And you want to keep it unencumbered to a point. So it's really, good organizational skills are important, and discerning what's important for this process in the model is what's key, because you don't want to overload the model as you're working, because you want those dynamic functions that you're using in the model to operate relatively quickly. And, there's other technologies out there that are really at the forefront of improving that, and that's where AI comes in. And I'm working with an AI company that does basically chip processing in the cloud. They design a chip for a specific function of processing large amounts of data, but you access it through the cloud, and we're using it for point cloud segmentation and schema of point clouds. That alone is a big boom, because it'll take like 3 billion points in a point cloud and turn it into a useful output within an hour,
Wow.
or even less.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's super amazing. But, this goes into the, memory being designed right onto the chip, so that training memory that AI depends upon is not, in another rack, or separated, isn't going through an API to access. It's like right on top of the chip design. And so that's a big game changer. And I'm working with them on some things that are relating to the metaverse and how we can get a digital twin into the metaverse and then get that digital twin also going down the other fork in the road to construction. So that's a really exciting thing that we're working on. We're talking to major gaming companies as well. But we take that same philosophy and we apply it to design in the early design periods and then in the construction period of that very as lightweight as possible model. We're focusing on what's needed for that process, and then using horsepower to make it operate quickly and agile. Because you don't want to have to wait a day or 2 days or have to put a group of people on a model to get something accomplished. If you can use those technologies and have a very well-crafted model and digital twin that is going to be very agile and quick, and you're going to be able to get work done, that's the kind of organizational thought process that you want to have. How do I make it fast, quick, and utilize technologies that are going to let it work at my speed or faster?
There you go. Yeah, perfect. So that kind of leads into my last little bit here I wanted to talk about, which is the last piece I think of the puzzle. It's kind of what Ken was just alluding to. It has to be the complexity. And I think moving to any new process always brings doubts about kind of the learning curve involved and how hard is it going to be to get my people to use this, and how do I change processes to do this. And look, people don't want to spend weeks and months learning all these new tools, these new skills, and kind of applying them to developing a digital twin on spec, so to speak. They're looking for a simple conversion build process that's going to leave them with some kind of a marketable, usable product that they can see that ROI on as quickly as possible. So, Ken, how complex is the process of developing a digital twin and its associated BIM information at a level that makes it either, usable or sellable, depending on where you are in that chain? And where do you think people need to focus on to kind of get into doing this type of work on all their jobs?
Yeah, so I guess if I was a selfish consultant, I would say it's extremely difficult and extremely horribly, you'll never be able to handle it. So that's why you have to pay us a lot of money. And I don't know why I took on a German accent, but
it works.
Yeah, very authoritarian. But the thing is I don't think you should look at it as kind of an unattainable or a big monster. I think you should look at it's just like any process, bits and pieces at a time, one step, next step, one after another. Look at, say my goal is a digital twin, but what is this ancillary process outside of that attaches to the digital twin that I can get started on right now? So for construction, it could be as simple as walking your site with a 360 camera and then using that to compare the model to the actual on-site. Now that can be then put into a digital twin, right? So just build these pieces that you're not doing, these processes that you're not doing right now to improve your process, but with the goal of going to a digital twin. And don't think about this big monster thing, the digital twin. I'm never gonna, I don't have time, and I don't have the people to become digital twin experts. Don't go with that. Go with, let me do one thing that is going to get me closer to digital twin, and then I'll do another technology, another add-on, where maybe I'm running a simulation of time, bring, or logistics. Bring in this pallet of this, put it on the construction site, have these guys get to it, pull it all out, and install. And how much time is that going to take? And let me run a simulation of that. And now I'm doing things that a digital twin can help me with. And then, after a while, you're going to start to have your digital twin, and that's where we come in. And it's going to be something that's going to be helping on the construction site. And it becomes something that then can be handed over at the end as an as-built. And you can actually charge more for being who you are, which is a leader in technology as a construction company.
There you go. All right. So as always, right, all my listeners know that whenever we have a guest on to talk about things that, Rocco and I don't really understand, which honestly is every time anybody is silly enough to come on the show, everybody's smarter than we are. I always like them to ask people to fill us in on anything that I wasn't smart enough to know that I should ask. So Ken, let's do that. All right. What else do you think our listeners should know about digital twins and BIM that I forgot to bring up?
Well, it's the facilitator of any creative or money-making property object that can then go into a very understandable form to where those money sources are. And what I mean, if you think of it as a road, starting with the designers and the developers, they can take their building, move it into one fork in the road, which is the construction process, and helping people who are on site understand the build process and what you want built. And then the other fork in the road goes directly to money sources of people with money in their pockets that want to be part of your metaverse digital twin, that want to start to buy. And that's where celebrity and influencers come in. And if you have a really exciting metaverse property, they're going to come visit your property from all over the world. And when you do finally get your construction done, they're going to come and visit your property in person and spend money. And that's what it's all about.
There you go. Good answer. All right. So let's wrap it up there then. And first of all, I just want to thank Ken for being on the show today. Even though he's known Rocco for a lot of years and should know better than to get involved with us, he did anyway. So Ken, we really do appreciate you being here. And we would absolutely love to have you back on the show in the future where you can talk to us about more of the cool stuff that you're doing.
Well, it was a great time. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
It was our pleasure, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, folks, we're out of here, and we will catch you next time on the CADDle Call podcast. All right, everybody, today's CADDle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentac Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentac Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentac strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentac?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentacconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentacconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.